All right, we are live. Move the twits over. Move it on over.
Good. This is silenced. An actual play. A theater production.
An actual play. Just blasting everybody in the Discords.
Heard.
You ready?
Yeah.
We were unmuted this whole time. I'll trim it later. It's hilarious. And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicente. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, dapping, and the Bardic College of Content and creation. We are a brand that really loves to focus on how we can support other designers in getting their game out, showing how those games are played. We do that in a lot of different ways, but they're really designed to help connect players with games that they can love by phenomenal designers. And tonight we are doing something we have never done before. We are starting a 4-part produced actual play series. Produced being different from what we normally do, even though production quality is a big part of us. But every week on Wednesdays during April, we're going to be sitting down and watching a short edited actual play of a Monster Care Squad titled Lost and Found. If this is your first time coming to our channel, you probably knew that. If this is not, I just want to give you a heads up. Things are going to be a little bit different. This is a partnership with Sandy Pug Games, who sponsored the 4-part actual play and who are the publishers of A Monster Care Squad, which is an absolutely gorgeous game. You can go order right now. We'll have links up and everything later. But next to me is the wonderful, the charismatic, the conscientious, and the overall wonderful person, Jeremy Gage. Jeremy, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about your role in Lost and Found.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Gage. You can find me at JeremyGage5 over on Twitter. I'm the host of the Draw Your Dice podcast, which is a podcast that helps educate others on game design, game theory, game intention, so that you can create your next great project. We interview a bunch of different people, and you can listen to that every Saturday morning and wherever podcasts or YouTube channels are found. Additionally, I am one half of Have You Played This, also known as Hype.com, with my partner Adam Bell, who is also the video editor for this project. I was the, I guess you would call, artistic director / producer of the project. I brought together everyone on the casting side of things, was there for all the sessions to help clarify any rules or anything like that, facilitate breaks and stuff. But I am in the shadows and I will not be a part of the actual play. Those who are a part of it will introduce themselves at the top of the show. It was an absolute pleasure to work with all of them on such a fantastic, colorful, diverse game with a lot of different hands on it. It was an absolute pleasure to do this for NEM. But yes, my role was producer of the whole project.
Awesome. So I know it's not your game, but for people who aren't familiar with Monster Care Squad, can you tell us a little bit about the game so they can get as excited as we are about what they're about to watch?
Yeah, so it's a game that attempts to invert the concept of monster fighting. in the sense that instead of depleting something's HP, you're actually trying to restore its HP. It's a game just that looks at the concept of monster ecosystems and our symbiosis with those fantasy environments and integrates those creatures into society. Examples being a hive mind of rats that help clean the sewer system that, if not, paid in the right amount of cheese, may turn on you in an instant and be like, we're not cleaning anymore, go on strike. Or it may be a beautifully ancient dragon that helps keep an entire city aloft in the sky. And so it's really about working together with monsters. And when those monsters get sick or diseased or cursed by the golden curse, you'll have to buy the book to find out what that means or watch this very actual play. But it's up to the monster care squad to go out and help those monsters and those locations, cities, towns, cultures to restore their own balance, if you will.
Awesome. So every week we'll get together with a couple of folks from the project, let you meet them, hear some of their thoughts about the game, the play of it, other things like that. Hopefully we'll have some of the design team joining us at different points also. But it'll just be a really short thing. Most of it's going to be sitting down and watching about an hour-long section of the actual play. Jeremy, just so people know, because I know people are always like, actual plays are weird, they're fake. We don't know how this works. What kind of dark magic have you created here? Tell us a little bit about the process, like what we're watching. This is kind of what actually happened in studio, just kind of cut down and reformatted to make it as easy to consume as possible. Is that right?
Yeah. So the process of the whole thing from start to finish sort of looked like, first, there was a casting call. Shout out to Utopia. They are a wonderful online community of really diverse creators and performers and facilitators and designers and producers and stream engineers. Just a wonderfully powerful community. I sent out my casting call within the Discord server, got a lot of interest in it. It was very unfortunate that I couldn't you know, bring everyone
Cast
to the
everyone.
table. Yeah, there are only so many roles to be filled, and I really do love the 3 that I selected for this in the end. But if anyone's watching this and had auditioned for it or sent in their interest, thank you very much for doing so. I really appreciate it. It means a lot that you made the decision really hard. It means a lot. So I did casting. I read over everything, and then I made selections based on so many different factors, combination of schedule, making sure everyone could be on the same schedule. Scheduling was the biggest one. It was really a process of finding a GM and 2 players and myself who can all meet at appropriate times when we were recording to make sure we could do it and not push off for a long time. Additionally, I didn't want to shy away from any veterans or new role players. I want everyone to have the opportunity to come and get investment into trying something like this. But after the casting, we got together. We had a little meet and greet. We talked about safety tools to make sure that we were all engaging in the appropriate story that we wanted to tell, and did justice to Monster Care Squad in something like a sponsored actual play. And I think it's important to maintain the showcase of the game. We did tell our own story, but I think my advice to something that's like marketable, you should be able to let people understand what the game is all about with the base setting. So if you wanted to add your own stuff, I don't know. I just think that's important for both the person who has interest in you producing this and also do justice to the book. So we did our best to do that. We used monsters and settings that you can find in Monster Care Squad if you go get a copy. And we had a meet and greet. We all chatted, talked about where our lines and veils were at. Then we all sort of broke, and then I had a private meeting with our guide, as the GM is called in this game, who will introduce themselves at the top of the show. And we just talked about what was the story or the narrative we wanted to tell, used some of the character information we got at the meet and greet, and then we recorded all the sessions over the course of 2.5 weeks. And then we sent it off to Adam Bell after all was said and done. Adam did video production on this, editing, and added all the graphics. We also had Tony, we used
Johnny Iserino.
Yes, Johnny Iserino for graphic design. So thank you to them for doing that. And then we brought it to your lovely faces through Tony at Plus One XP.
Awesome. Super excited about this partnership. If you're a designer out there, if you would ever want to work with, have you played this or Plus One or both of us to do something like this for your stream, we would love to do more of these in the future. Jeremy and I are both big fans of the actual play format. We also think when we can accentuate the best parts of that showcase things without doing any sort of scripting or anything else like that, it makes it really easy for you to get in and see the beauty of a game, which is exactly what we've been trying to do with Monster Care Squad. With that said, we're going to be giving away a digital copy tonight. If you want to, at any point from now on, hit over on Twitch, hit follow and hit !squad goals. Then you can get entered in a chance to win a digital copy. We'll give away a free digital copy each week. I think also on the last week, we're hoping that we can have some of the creative team here. We're going to give away a physical copy also too. Nim is also in the chat. So if you have questions about the game, see something you like, any of those kind of stuff, please tell them. Feel free, ask questions. We'll be in the chat. Also, this is 100% my first time showing a clip of media this long. So we tremendously hope everything works right. If in any way, shape, or form something goes pear-shaped, I'll announce the giveaway, and then we'll just upload the raw video, the edited video, right, to YouTube directly. But we thought this would be a really fun thing to build a little bit of community, to do a live premiere of each episode together, and then they'll all be over on YouTube at the end of the process, but you can catch it tomorrow if you have to go early over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/+1exp. Again, hoping to do more stuff like this in the future. Jeremy is always amazing to collaborate with, but really carried the ball on the vast majority of this getting done. So huge shout out to have you played this. Super honored to meet with y'all. Jeremy, any final thoughts before I kick us over live and let everybody experience the beauty and the wonder of Monster Care Squad Lost and Found?
I just think the biggest lesson the game taught me is, hey, think about when you're going into that dungeon and you see those goblins, there could be baby goblins in there. Just think about that.
Awesome. Again, hit !squad goals to get entered into a chance to win a digital copy tonight. Come back every week for more chances to win. Also, let's go ahead and say this. If you retweet it, I'll purchase another copy, digital copy to give away tonight too. So if you retweet the go live, invite people to come join us, you'll get entered into a chance to win also. But here we go with part 1 of Monster Care Squad Lost and Found.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe. I will be GMing, guiding, doing all of the wonderful things for this very special 2-shot of Monster Care Squad by Sandy Pug Games. Me in particular, I'm at Grandpa Bimbo on Twitter and TikTok, most predominantly. I stream, I put makeup on my face, do wig reveals, and many ridiculous things. Have been role-playing since 2016, and only very recently streaming in terms of DMing or GMing, and it's going to be very exciting. Would love to pass it to CJ and then Hamna to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I am CJ, and I always forget what I say to people, but I am CJ, and you can find me on Twitter, sometimes TikTok. I consider myself a podcaster, and they them pronouns.
All right, and I think that moves it on to me. Hello, everyone. My name is Humna, and I use any and all pronouns. I am a TTRPG performer. I am in a variety of different streams and podcasts, so if you want to keep up with the work that I do, you can follow me on Twitter at hshahid_. That's HSHAHID_, and that is where I will be talking about all of the different projects that I'm a part of.
Amazing. So why don't we get into the very first bit that I have for the both of you today, starting with Hamna.
The lava sand trails roam in channels like veins of gritty magma. They flow up from the lava tubes deep underground, giving life to the area. We, from Eldura Umal, hold these trails dear to our history, as the final end to warlords and kings from times past. These trails, a webbed network of travel for the Eldura Umal collective, a way to connect. With ease, our nomadic community formed a relationship with the steam rays, these gargantuan monsters born from the lava sand. In fact, the people of Eldura Umal are the oldest known community in all of Aldemora, existing even beyond written documents and local bard stories. We, the people of Eldura Umal, live together as a traveling community built upon honesty and cooperation. Although, I suppose it's not a we anymore. Not for me, at least. Recently, I said goodbye to the steam ray who took me beyond the trails those few months ago. I now live outside of it, separate from it, from everything I've ever known.
Having wandered through the outskirts of the burning seas, not too far away, but certainly the moment, however long those months ago, however long it's been in terms of days, the farther away from Eldura Umal, the farther away from those camps and those steam rays, the farther away it almost seems you are from the world, or at the very least, the only world that you've ever known. Basar Obsidian Eye, could you tell us what you look like?
Basar is a person in about their mid-30s. They're kind of tall, they're 5'11", but they have a very slender, almost lanky build about them. And when they walk, it's never at their full height. They're always a little bit sort of hunched at the shoulders, as if they're trying to hide from the world almost. They have one eye that is a prosthetic, and it is quite literally made of obsidian, hence their name, Obsidian Eye. And they have this demeanor about them that is kind of alone in this world. And you can see it in every part of their body. Their short, cropped brown hair, their nails that are always painted in the same color of obsidian as their eye. None of it feels together. None of it feels cohesive in any way.
Where you begin to find yourself as you've, in general, began to adventure or to wander, you're finding yourself, although realistically it might not be that much different in terms of temperature, being farther away from the lava sand, those trails and the burning seas, it is getting colder and colder to you. Just almost the difference between being in such a hot place for the entire time and being somewhere that's probably only 50 degrees or something. It is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. You're finding yourself in the beginnings of a forested sort of grassland. There is a marked path. There are the names and roads of locations that you've heard before, but are not necessarily that familiar to you. There's something interesting about your prosthetic eye, and specifically the sort of ability that it is able to provide to you. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Basar's obsidian eye, the prosthetic, it acts as almost a gauge or barometer of some sort that helps them determine how lost an item or a person is. Because after all, Basar is a member of the Finders Guild, a collection of people that seek lost items and sometimes lost people.
A gauge or a barometer of things lost. Is there a specific effect or feeling that the prosthetic eye provides you when it's beginning to track something that is lost?
I think when something is lost enough, is forgotten about enough to sort of be picked up by Basar's eye, it starts to glow, I think, faintly in the distance. And it gives Basar, I think, this feeling of the temperature dropping around the location or the item, wherever it is.
You're beginning to see the growing silhouette of a faint aura in whatever sort of bright, iridescent color, just headed off in the distance, following down this forested path, not necessarily following any of the signs in particular, but almost that feeling of temperature dropping, that the sound almost, or the sight of water, maybe something close to the coastal line.
I think Basar is going to, I imagine they're wearing kind of a coat, which is unusual for them, given that they're always in sort of this desert climate where it is often very hot during the day. But for the first time, I think in a long time, Basar is wearing a coat during the day to acclimate to this changing weather that they're now traveling through. And as they see, I think before they even see the aura, I think they feel the drop in temperature first. And as they feel that, they kind of like pull their coat closer to them. But then they see the glow and they realize that this is their eye working. It's magic working. And they, having really nowhere to go exactly and no goal or destination in mind at this point in their life, they really are just seeking for the next thing that will give them direction in their life. So I think they sort of make a beeline towards that area.
I think getting deeper into the forest, and certainly as the path begins to open up more, the trees become taller and the shrubbery and all of the local vegetation, whatever it may be, gloriously flourishing here. I think to one of the sides, you're beginning to see a makeshift campsite just kind of open up. This doesn't seem to be where the silhouetted aura is coming from, but there are people inside of this forest that seem to be regarding you as you are beelining in whatever fashion, however fast that you're going. And a sort of like someone in the distance, they seem sort of maybe a teenager in terms of their height or however, whatever a teenager looks like. And just seems to like wave you down like, hello.
I think Basar just kind of like flits their eyes towards this teenager, just kind of like pulls their collar a little bit over their face and just like nods at them. Yes, hello. And they're like slowing down a bit as they're moving, but they haven't fully stopped yet.
Gotcha. Need any help with anything?
I suppose you wouldn't happen to have any extra food, would you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And getting a better look at this teenager, they are someone with certainly like boyish, childish kind of figures. Sort of disposition, short, kind of purple hair beginning to grow into a ponytail as best as possible, but obviously a lot of hair is like coming down. They're wearing sort of almost in our world like monk-like clothing, just something very modest, but loose and free, very freely fitting, seemingly not feeling the sort of temperature drop that you are, but for you in particular, you understand that it's like, it's probably a normal temperature for them, and I kind of look wild. This teenager with like the boyish disposition and the purple hair seems to be with other taller, seemingly adults just around. The adults seem to be regarding you, nods, and he continues to do whatever they're doing as far as rummaging with lumber. And the teenager comes back with kind of like an impressive like pouch made of this like almost professionally tanned sort of leather. And it is a considerable size as well, and provides it for you, like the whole thing to you. The teenager kind of says, there should be dried fruits, nuts, seeds, and some dried meat as well.
Basar takes it like kind of gingerly, the pouch in hand. This is quite a lot of food. Are you sure that can I would hate to just take this. Is there anything that I can do in return for it? Do you have anyone injured that I could tend to?
Oh, sure. I mean, I want to say that we just recently traveled down all the way westward, north, whatever the direction is where the aura seems to be. Just past there are the Fjordlands, and that's where we just got a lot of salted things and dried things, and that just seems to be a huge trade sort of thing. So we got a good I guess transaction. So it is absolutely no problem that we're given this. Like you just seemed like you needed help. But a friend of mine definitely has been kind of walking on kind of a fractured ankle. I don't know if you can do anything with that, but that would be great.
I can take a look, certainly, for sure. Where is this friend of yours?
And then inside of the makeshift tent cabin sort of thing, the teenager just like gestures inside.
I think Basar nods once more at this teenager and walks inside where they were gesturing.
Sitting down against a couple of other travelers' packs, there seems to be a pregnant traveler just like kind of sitting on the ground. Her bump doesn't seem to be, like labor tomorrow by any means, but she does seem to be rather big. And her ankle seems to be propped up and rested as much as she possibly can. She has long brown hair and sort of like a very small pointed up nose. But as far as musculature, very strong, very able to sort of hold herself up. And I think the teenager will sort of whisper to you, she kind of always overexerts herself. Like, I don't know how you can forget that you have a person inside of you, but sometimes that's just what's happening.
Yes, I've certainly met people like that in my travels as well. Let me see what I can do. I'm sure that they are not happy with having to sit around very much.
No, and they don't let us hear the end of it.
Well, then consider this a favor to all of you. And Basar, I think, will put the pouch like down on perhaps like a nearby table or something, and we'll walk up to this person, and we'll sort of, I think like, are they like sitting down or like lying down on a chair?
Sitting down, yeah.
Sitting down. I think Basar is going to just like kneel down in front of them, and say, "Hello, my name is Basar Obsidian Eye. Your fellow campmates have been ever so kind to offer me some extra food, and I figured I would return the favor. I was told you have a broken ankle. Would you like me to look at it?"
It's fractured. It's not broken, but if, you know, that kid in particular points back to the teenager, thinks that you're trustworthy, you're worthwhile, who am I to say no to potentially a physician? Let's see what you got.
Thank you very much. And I think like gingerly and very carefully, like you can see that Basar is like being extremely, uh, like not necessarily like slow in their movements, but is being very methodical. And they're
Yeah.
going to sort of pull this person's like pant leg like up to be able to examine the area of the fracture a little bit better. And looking at it, does it look like it would be possible to like just set the bone back into place?
Let's see. Do you have any moves currently that could help you with this? Or if not, let me see.
I have a training for bone setting, but I don't have a move that would help.
Gotcha. Let's roll for something. Do you think that fine would be what you would roll for this situation, for bone setting?
I think so. I think I could make an argument for fine because you're trying to find like the right like connection between the two bones in order to put them back into place, which I would argue requires some level of fine motor skills to do so.
Yes, absolutely. So go ahead and give me a fine roll.
All right. I got a 9.
So awesome. With your 9, I think certainly with your expertise and your experience, this doesn't seem to be something that is too serious. It certainly doesn't seem to be that broken. With the very fine sort of meticulous observation of the way that the ankle is set, the way it looks, you understand that this person has new weight on their feet and new weight on their ankles and knees and legs, absolutely. So kind of almost in a chiropractic kind of way, you're able to do something with the bone, and the person there's just like this sudden breath that just like comes through her, and like maybe after a couple of days of walking on it, just like finally is just breathes and relaxes and is able to not feel as much pain as they did on their ankle. And she just kind of says, well, I'm satisfied with that for sure. So, you know, whatever the kid gave you, feel free to take whatever else you need.
Basar, I think, smiles like softly up at this person. I'm sure that you should be able to walk more comfortably on that foot now, although I would still be careful. You don't want to break it again.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think as far as just like a little chit chat and chatter between the teenager as well as the person goes, I think the teenager will lead you out of the tent. Again, sort of like probably took the pouch and made sure that you got it. And just kind of, we'll say as far as greetings go, this particular teenager just kind of, I think bows or something, kind of like a nod or something along those lines, and puts a hand on their kind of chest and says, my name is Lavender Rose. I don't know, were you heading to the Fjordlands?
I believe the Fjordlands are that way, correct? And I think Basar is pointing towards where they can see the sort of like light shimmering in the distance.
Yep, just over there. It's not too far away from here, actually.
Yes, that is where I'm headed. Do you know much about the Fjordlands?
Oh yeah, we just passed through. This is where we were able to receive as many rations as we were able to. It's next to some beautiful coastal waters. It's a very amazing fish port sort of town. There's many capable carpenters. Everyone is very tall. I mean, you are very tall to me, but everyone's super tall. There's like they're beginning to build something like a big moving thing.
A big moving thing. To do what with exactly?
It's supposed to move people from Tenera Small to Ariara Small. But I don't know how.
Oh, and they're not going to ride a monster to do that.
I guess not. They seem to be building it. And as far as I understand, I don't know if there's any built monsters.
Curious. I have not seen or heard of built monsters before, but best to keep my eye out, I suppose.
And I think the teenager just like looks up at you as if they were going to say something, but then kind of just shakes their head and just kind of says, never mind. Have a good trip, travel. If you maybe ever need us, we're going to leave in the next, honestly, maybe tomorrow. So if you need anything by then, maybe we'll still be around, but take care. Thank you so much.
Basar, I think, will like nod or bow back in reciprocation of what Lavender Rose did earlier. Thank you so much, Lavender Rose, for your kindness and for all of the information that you have given me. I hope you and your community are able to find what you're looking for on your travels.
As the two of you sort of separate and you are on your way to these supposed Fjordlands, we cut to the actual majesty of the Fjordlands, this beautiful blue, glowing green sort of area, bustling with fisher people, people working on housing as well as the agricultural sort of side of the town. This sort of market upon market where people barter and are able to trade, and the many sort of like delighted giggles and laughter of gifts being received from others, little salt pinches being given to other people's salt pouches. As this sort of bustling morning, afternoon is already kind of going off, Zeke Rumblewood, if you would not mind telling me what your morning ritual is like right now.
So I'd say Zeke wakes up bright and early at around 4 a.m., to make sure that he gets up right before the sun rises. And as he gets up and drinks his water, always drinking his water, he wakes up his child. He knocks on the door and he's like, Cap, wake up. It's time to go to school. I think kids go to school. 80% sure kids would go to school.
So does Cap go to a school that you have entered them into of some sort as you go to work?
I like to think that it's in the same ways of like just a community-based teaching and approach that like a few different folks that like to make sure the kids are well read and well learned just takes them to somebody's not house but like renovated space for reading and writing lessons and general history and whatever else you would need to survive in the world that's not the American education system.
Yes, gotcha. Okay, I think, funnily enough, Cap just, as you're sort of knocking on their door, Cap walks out from like the hallway behind you and is just sort of like, good morning.
Oh, look who it is, already up, already ready to go. It's like, make sure you get all your things going. I'm making breakfast. We got to make sure we get you out of here in the next hour. because I forgot that I'm up at 4. Actually, you know what? My apologies. I was overzealous. I want you to go back, get some rest, and make sure that you brush your teeth.
Just wordless thumbs up. Cap has definitely been on your schedule, if anything, and is definitely like school probably starts at like 9 and you're awake at 4.
I'm up at 4.
Yeah. I think a fun thing that you and Cap normally do, maybe even as you the both of you are like waking up and you're doing your little morning rituals, having your bright and early, totally normal time of a 4:30 a.m. breakfast. And I think there are times where you will take Cap to work first thing and then kind of walk them to the school, so that, you know, most of the more dangerous things that you do as someone that is working on the railroad currently, you won't have to expose Cap to too many flying debris or whatever. Cap, teeth brushed, diaper on, clothes, all these wonderful things. They're probably wearing like literally the same sort of clothes as you are, but tinier. Can you tell us what Zeke and Cap looks like?
100%. So Zeke is one heck of a man, around 6'3", tall, dark, and handsome is what we like to say. Is around 6'3", a man in his mid-30s, skin reminiscent of dark, rich oak wood, with hands strong and firm and rough from the years and years of determination. You see that he's wearing burgundy overalls with a nice gray flannel underneath and a driver's cap because he thinks it makes him look cool.
From years of determination.
From years of determination, of whether it be wrangling animals, picking up wood, or just shaking hands after a good hard day of work. Cap wearing the miniature version of these clothes, because as much as I would like Cap to be an individual, Cap wants to, you know, look like Dad. I'd say the colors are reversed, with a red shirt underneath, gray flannels, I already forgot the color scheme, and a nice baseball cap. Don't think we have baseball here, so whatever that translation would be. Cap stands at a measly, Cap's probably also big too. 3 feet, I don't know how tall children is, 3 feet tall.
I don't think
3 feet tall with an attitude to boot. Cap with slick dark hair and a much lighter skin complexion than his oak tree of a dad. Cap is a, you know, rambunctious one, and probably's got that like child's intelligence, smarter intuition than dear old Dad.
Cap is also adopted, sort of a child that you, I think, found on the outskirts of the Fjordlands in whatever sort of fashion. Certainly a mysterious child, but one that has proven to have so much emotional intelligence and just complete put togetherness for a 4-year-old. Their language skills are incredible, and they're already reading words. Actually, 4-year-olds know how to read.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you to know how to read.
Took me 12 whole years.
I mean, that very much literacy differs in all sorts of fashions in the Fjordlands, as well as just anywhere else in Aldemura. You make your way on over to we'll say, where's the first place that you'd like to go? As just before, hours before Cap has to go to school.
Well, as a good education is not only in the classroom, but it's also outside. So I'd say that me and Cap do a walkthrough of the woods. I point and I show different trees. So I'm like, that right there's an oak. That right there's
oak.
that would probably be a pine tree.
Probably pine.
Pine, yes, probably pine. And I actually oak, pine. That's what we got here. Two whole different trees. I was like, I'll take you to see more after CJ's research different trees. And then make sure we show some foraging. These are different mushrooms. These are edible. These are spotted, so you probably shouldn't eat them unless you want to see the big mushroom in the sky.
Cap reaches for one of the spotted mushrooms, like captivated.
I pick them up and I'm like, nope. And I put Cap on my shoulders and I say, don't touch a spots or you're going to be a rot. Ting. You'll die.
Touch spots, die.
Don't touch spots, die. Oh, gosh, you're so dang smart. You're going to be now I don't want to put any pressures on what you should do in your future. You're either going to be one heck of a monster specialist or you're just going to be the dangest smartest person in whatever town you choose to live in.
Okay.
I love you. And then I'd say after like an hour or so of that, we go visit some folks in town, go to different shops, get some bagels. I love bagels. Get some bagels. Get whatever Cap wants to eat. And then I'd say it rolls up around 8, get there early, and I take Cap to school bright and early, an hour on time as it should be.
An hour on time. The teacher, as well as many other parents that sort of oversee this community educational center or sort of area, there is a beautiful garden where children are able to learn about foraging, as well as the different types of ways to garden or to farm or grow some of the vegetation around here. There are probably lessons or sort of field trips where they're able to go near the ocean, and it is very much a holistic experience for Cap, and certainly something that anyone is very grateful for when it comes to their children being taught in the Fjordlands. What is your direction? What is your path after dropping off your child?
After taking Cap there and spending at a minimum 15 minutes of pulling myself away from my beloved child, I guess I'd head home, change out of my walking shoes to my working boots, and then I guess I'd go to work.
Okay, sort of on your way there, and the train yard sort of is within, I think as far as the current construction progress goes of the train, you're beginning to find the work beginning to center this much locally. Oh my God, hang on. Starting over.
Words are hard.
The construction of the train seems to be progressing into the center of the Fjordlands, in the center of a more populated market within the center of the town. And much like with new occurrences, this is not something that is new to anyone by any means. If something new is happening in a town that for the most part functions in the same way, lots of people are very excited to find out what is happening, what the new hubbub is, what the new local monster is going to say, or any other interesting visitors. And what the Fjordlands is sort of going through at the moment is not necessarily about, but an interesting time with the tourists from Ariaris Mall. Ariaris Mall specifically being a place of eccentric inventors, unshackled artists, and thousands of schools, thousands of teachers, interested engineers. It is the oldest and largest city within Aldemura. There is a postal service hub there. a grand library, and is sprawled across the Ariaris River. There are, where I think the fashion or the dress of the Fjordlands kind of looks like, there is many sort of recycled materials and fabrics from certainly years beyond you, sort of a rubbery material for shoes or leather for the warmth. The Fjordlands also being near mountainous, snowy, other areas and regions. Where you are in the Fjordlands at the moment is certainly chilly. It's near water as well, but it's not as, there's not snow everywhere and not so high up in the mountains as well. The people from what you would assume are tourists, from Ariaris Mall, are people that are wearing maybe more clothes that have more intricate usages of metal wires, maybe in this sense, almost as if people from like solar punk Victorian era are just suddenly in this lumber, like Montana, you know, they're just like, oh, interesting. They have sort of recycled little devices where they're able to adjust their eyesight or accommodate for certain things that they need accommodated for. There is maybe a certain design of a wheelchair that you haven't seen specific to the Fjordlands. And from what you see, and something that certainly isn't normal or like a regular everyday thing for you, are just these people that are marveling at this train and the tracks that you and your team within the Brotherhood of the Brick Confederation are working on.
Am I saying words?
I guess so. I just stopped.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. I'm walking through the. Oh God, I almost dropped my water. Oh no, almost dropped my water as I'm walking through. Just walking kind of through people as they're marveling. I'm like, oh, sorry, gotta.
You're
trying to get to work.
towering above people.
Trying not to bump into folks. And I'm like, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
just almost spilling like my mason jar. And I'm like, no, sorry. Oh, little. And he's just like kind of struggling, like trying not to be imposition on folks.
Yeah.
Just, and eventually after getting past, I see a fellow worker, and I walk over and I'm like, oh God, it's getting even more than yesterday.
One of your coworkers, as well as one of your friends, is a Kong quartzite. One of your fellow woodworkers, masons rather, a 35-year-old man with sort of like a completely shaved head, certainly for the work, as well as just being a sweaty guy in general, is Aldemer and Asian, whatever that might be. And to the side of him is also Gregarious Riverside, who has lived here for a very long time. She is around 50 to 55 years old and is still working with the Brick Confederation. The two of them sort of regard you, give you, the three of you have this thing where instead of what is natural for greetings, putting salt in each other's pouches, Kong just flicks salt at you.
I open my mouth, try to catch a little bit, and I'm like, oh. It's like, is that new salt? Seems fresh.
It is new salt. The fact that you do that every time makes me want to stop doing this little joke that we have.
That's disheartening. You know, I'm a sucker for tradition.
You're a sucker for salt, apparently.
What can I say? Look, salt, Fjordland salt is the richest and the best salt around. And if I would deprave myself of a wonderful thing at every chance I get, what type of a man would I be? Hey, Greg?
That's right. And like Greg and Kong, like the both of them are like nodding along and like, yeah, you're right. Like the salt in the Fjordlands. I think there's every now and then, for whatever reason, there's like salt from Tenaris Mall, salt from like another place, and the Fjordlands salt just it's the only thing that can cut it for any local to the Fjordlands. Kong and Greg seem to both be in whatever sort of fashion, like just like getting their breakfast in, getting some of their blueprints or whatever they need collected. And there's, I guess, some sort of like whisperings kind of around your coworkers. There just seems to be people discussing something amongst themselves outside of you, Kong, and Greg.
I lean over to Kong and I go, what do you think they're talking about?
Kong kind of shrugs in sort of a like, it's not that important. They're just kind of a little, I would say, understandably, we're all a bit, I guess, anxious or nervous when we have so many people watching us work from, you know, a completely other technologically advanced town. It just it is a little strange. I stopped really thinking about it, but they're definitely all kind of talking about the potential for these people moving in or something and not really liking that. I mean, I don't know how I feel.
Zeke taps his chin. He's like, oh, new folks moving into the Fjordlands. That'd be wonderful. Imagine all the workers we could have. God, they'd know so many new things, and they come in and, you know, look, now if y'all told me 20 years ago that I wouldn't be doing tree work, that I would be working on a railroad, I wouldn't believe you. I'd be like, that, well, one, I wouldn't know what you're talking about. And two, I think that change is never possible. You know, some hard pill that I had to swallow, especially when we started working here, was, you know, we're not going to be doing the same things every day. You know, new people, God, you think they'd move in next to me? I could have new neighbors. Oh, you think they could cook? I'd cook them bread. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying? You were having
yeah,
Act Society.
Society. Greg in particular just like shakes her head and is just like, well, at least you're the one that feels the most welcoming to these folks. They do give off a weird air about them. They smell different. It's not, you know, I don't know. They don't smell as fresh as maybe the rest of us do. But the fish smell really just gets you up in the morning in a good way here. You know what I mean?
We just give them a salt bath and they'll smell nice and like we should.
God, yeah. Now they gotta all get their own pouches. They all gotta get their own salt. It'll be fine. Ultimately, whatever these people want to do, they gotta do what they gotta do. We gotta build this train, and we gotta make sure that the next time it is reviewed by Bosco as in the 16-legged hound of the valley, who raced a particular train and accepted it to be reproduced in some fashion, regularly needs to supervise some of the construction and the progression of this train being built. So Greg is just sort of talking about like, we got to make sure that this is going to impress Bosco. That's all that I'm doing this for.
Yeah, I like the way you think. One day at a time. Let's get some hard work in today.
So all three of you, as well as the rest of you, are sort of clucking hen coworkers finally get to work on the train, the tracks, as well as the other sort of ligaments that go into whatever other train words involve train parts.
Wheels.
Yeah. And I think certainly this is when Basar, Obsidian Eye, kind of going back to you, as you've entered into the Fjordlands, you have you find yourself maybe walking into the outskirts of like a residential area, lots of vegetation, lots of people wearing thicker coats than you currently are, people with little pouches on sort of utility belts, people with large boots, tall people. You were tall yourself, but there are people that are like up to 6'7", and kind of walking, being guided, whatever, further into town, following that silhouetted aura. You find yourself gazing or being however surprised that you think Basar might be at the large sort of locomotive that is being created, as well as the spanning road that seems to be of some strange checkered pattern, just going farther and farther off into the distance. How is Basar feeling about seeing this train, whatever that means, for the first time?
How far along are the Fjordland workers in creating this train?
I would say Bosco has the first train that has ever been built. In terms of years, probably maybe 1 to 2 years ago or something like that. And the Fjordlands from that time, with the engineers throughout the Fjordlands and neighboring places, whatever cooperating people have decided to work on this project, from 1 to 2 years ago, we are into the present. So however, hundreds of miles at this point.
Okay. I think Basar will walk up to the nearest train that they see when they walk into town, and they kind of look up at it in awe. I imagine that if everything is very large in the Fjordlands, then probably this train is also significantly larger than what we in our world would consider to be the size of a train. So I think Basar walks up to it, just kind of looking at it. And for Basar usually walks, like I mentioned, with their shoulders kind of hunched and kind of looking down, but they've kind of forgotten themselves as they're looking at this train, and they're looking up in wonder at it. And I think they think to themselves, this must be the monster that they're building here. And they kind of look at it, trying to find little signs of life to see whether or not the monster is awake or not. So depending on whether it's actively, I assume this is a steam powered train.
Something along those lines, yeah, probably in some fashion. In my mind, those water mills, it to some degree, there is also all that the Fjordlands knows is the work of the local monster herself, Selma, the giver of plenty, the concept of flowing and rotating water. However they've done it, they've also been able to sort of isolate the power and the concept of water through this train.
Yeah, so I like to think that maybe one of the ways in which that sort of water power manifests is that the sides of the train are constantly pumping water out and back in and then out and back in. And so I think Basar kind of watches that rhythmic movement kind of hypnotically, thinking that this is the monster. This is it kind of sitting, resting maybe for now, and just kind of looking at it in awe. And honestly, a little bit of fear too, as well, because Basar has known what it's like to ride a monster, to ride on top of one. After all, they're from where the steam rays are from, and the steam rays are the main way of travel for where Basar is from. But to ride inside of a monster, to build a monster, these are things that they're not familiar with.
Zeke, you're kind of, as you're like, you've been building for a couple hours at this moment. You're noticing, yes, there's tourists coming in and out. Not like around the construction area by any means, but there's a particular person that seems to be hooded that has completely entered into the construction area and is just like their hands sort of marveling and touching the side of this train.
I'd say that I'd take a break from whatever it is you do to build trains.
Yeah, right.
And kind of like, what is this? And take my my warm-up device, my special equipment, kind of clack a few times, get the hands going, put it away, walk over, and I'm like, well, hello there. Little bold of you to you impressed by the train?
Is that what you're called? Is that what this monster is called? It's a train.
Oh, this isn't a monster. This is a machine. At least that's what I'm told. But yeah, it's a train.
Are you sure it's not a monster? I was told that you were all here building a very large monster for travel.
Well, we've traveled on monsters, but none of them have really been like this. Inside of there, it's all padded and nice and wonderful. Not really much like the insides of a monster. If you got eaten by that, I don't think you'd be coming out as smoothly as if you came out of this train.
No, I suppose not. And I think Basara is kind of like running their hand along the side of the metal of the train at this point, kind of like thinking over this thought of, yes, looking inside like maybe one of the windows and like looking at the upholstery on like the seats. Yes, no, I suppose that the inside of this is far too dry to be quite like the monsters we know.
It's like, are you well versed on monsters? Are you a specialist?
A new one, but yes. And I think Basar kind of like gestures towards. I assume that they kind of wear a belt at all times, and there is on one hip, there's a like suturing kit that they keep in order to heal like the wounds of monsters that they come across. And so Basar just kind of like gestures to that.
Oh, you must be a synthesis.
Yes, honestly, I didn't study it back where I'm from. But I, in my travels, have met quite a many monster care specialists, and all of them really have been so kind to me. And I learned a thing or two, and turns out, I suppose I have a knack for it. Are you also a monster care specialist?
At you saying basically that you hadn't studied it, Zeke's eyes go wide, and he's like, wait, did you not go to school? You didn't suffer? You mean to tell me there was ways around it? Oh, and like Zeke just like kind of like leans down and puts his hands in his head, and he's like, oh, all of those nights, all those sleepless nights. Oh, you mean I could have avoided it maybe?
Suddenly you feel just like hands around your leg, just holding it, Zeke, and like you kind of look down as you're just like panicking, and well, not panicking, but like grieving potentially. And Cap is just like there with like just like fresh out of school, snacked up, napped up, ready for any kind of action.
I take my hands out of my head out of my hands, and I look over and I go, oh, well, howdy there. And I pick Cap up and put them right on my shoulder. And I say, I guess I hadn't answered your question. Yeah, I am a specialist, a shocked one, and at that right now. Just like, I don't do much of the synthesis, but I'm one hell of a closer.
Basar, did you have a question? Were you saying something before?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think at Zeke sort of having his little moment where he's kind of remembering the traumas of being in elementary school, I think Basar is just kind of like going to Basar doesn't know how to interact in this kind of scenario, and so they're just kind of like moving their hands around, kind of looking around, like, yeah, yes, I'm sure school must have been very very difficult. I'm so sorry for that.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It was. But I guess I guess nothing good. I guess nothing. You can't. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Uh, uh, yeah, I'm the specialist now. I actually been to school twice, and then you see him kind of like puff up his chest and kind of like in a little bit of pride. It's like, I'm a handyman by trade, and you could say I have three jobs actually. I'm a handyman. I work on trains, and I'm this one's dad. And then I like shrug, mess up Cap's hair, and I say, "This is Cap."
I'm gonna say very quickly, Basar, just as a question, have you been engaging in eye contact at all with Zeke throughout this conversation?
I think probably not. I
Okay.
think Basar has been trying very hard to um trying I don't think Basar has been like avoiding necessarily Zeke's eyes, but they're not like looking to intentionally and deliberately make eye contact.
I think very quickly, just sort of as maybe you're finally being directed into potentially engaging in some kind of eye contact, social cue, whatever, when Zeke just gestures to Cap being, this is my kid. Something that occurs to you, and maybe even because you were so distracted by the marvel of this great metal beast, it's not cold anymore, but Zeke is glowing entirely in your obsidian eye.
Hello, Cap. I'm sorry, did I get your name? Looking over at Zeke.
Oh, I guess you didn't. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Zeke Rumblewood.
Basar Obsidian Eye. You wouldn't happen to be. Is somebody looking for you?
Zeke points to himself and he's like, me?
And I think Basar just silently nods.
It's like, do I owe someone money?
I don't know. Do you?
Cap, I don't think so. I always make sure. Mom always says, make sure you pay your debts. So I don't think so.
Interesting. And I think Basar just kind of like takes this information in and kind of like logs it in their brain. That I think if Zeke is the one that is like kind of giving off this aura, then Basar is assuming that either Zeke is someone that is lost and someone out there or something out there is looking for him, or he has something on his person that belongs to someone else. But Basar is not going to say that last part because they do not want to accuse Zeke of stealing anything. So,
not the big 6'3" man.
You could probably break Basar in half, so we're gonna not.
You stole something. Oh, snap. Yeah. He's like, are you looking for me? Wait, are you looking for me?
I don't think so. I don't see why I would be looking for you in particular, but I think somebody out there might be.
Huh.
I should clarify. I'm a member of the Finders Guild. We are seekers of lost items and, well, sometimes lost people.
Oh.
Cap kind of just like pats your head, Zeke. Dad.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
Do your thing. And by that, Cap means I think Cap also says, actually, I think Cap will ask first. Are they new?
Are they new here? Cap then looks at you, Obsidian, says, well, are you? I think you are. You've never been here, have you?
No, this would be my first time in the Fjordlands, child, yes.
Do your thing, Dad. And then what Cap means by that is you have, by whatever means, a very interesting monologue that you just whip out from your mind palace to all new wonderful friends of the Fjordlands, talking about the wonders of it. And I would love to hear that.
Zeke goes glassy-eyed and almost as if a switch has been flipped.
Something is taking over Zeke's body.
Yeah.
Something greater has taken over Zeke, and
Is
he
this
says,
the Avatar state?
of hospitality, yes. And he says, we are now in the lands along the magnificent mountains and generous waters of the Fjordlands. Qualities that its people, as well as our guardian monster, also take on. Home to the tallest, broadest, and most compassionate people, and perhaps of Aldemora. We have the natural inclination to give and protect. We have a trade, we have art, and we have an extraordinary mode of transportation. If you look, you'll see me and my friends working at the Seven Scales Lumberyard. Look hard, and you'll see us, and you'll see we're working on a new railway from Tinaris Mall all the way to Aris Mal, which has brought in many tourist foot traffic these days. It's admittedly getting, well, a bit in the way for some of us. But obviously, they mean no harm. But just in case, we'll need you to get a pouch of salt to blend in, because we give each other a pinch of salt as a greeting. And even like in this state, he throws some salt at you. We have salt mines and we work there too. But we think of salt as more of a symbol of ourselves and our community, all mixed together to season something to perfection. And we can't forget about Selma. Selma, or sometimes we call her Uni, is the missus who gives us plenty. She swims, crawls, flies all over the land, and she creates new life with her scales. We don't see her too often, but we pay tribute to her as often as we can. Oh, and if you look, here come some of my friends.
And I think, Basar, you will probably notice to some degree there are maybe embroidered sort of images, or even on Zeke's utility belt, there is maybe an axe that has an engraving of a serpentine sort of monster. Approaching Zeke and Basar is Kong and Gregarious. The both of them just sort of walking up casually, waving. Kong kind of looking to you, Basar, and saying, are you another tourist from Ariaris Mall?
As Kong asked this question, I think Basar is like taking some salt off of their face and licking it. Like, that's actually quite good. No, not a tourist exactly, and not from Ariaris Mall. I'm a monster care specialist, a traveling one, let's say.
I think Greg is like, oh, so you're kind of like Zeke over here, but not so much the traveling part though, I guess, Zeke.
As you bring up Zeke's name and kind of point, Zeke's huge state of hospitality kind of blinks out and he's like, oh, where am I? Oh, okay, I remember now. He's like, he leans in and he's like, sorry, I do a lot of tour guiding in my spare time whenever Cap's at work and I don't have to be here it's my days off. He's like, we talking about monsters?
Are you okay?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be?
Just checking.
Oh, but yeah, monster care specialist Zeke Rumblewood, and at your service. Who am I talking to?
Kong and Greg in particular kind of are like, okay. Anyway, Zeke, we're kind of, there's something that we kind of, I guess, need your supervision or help with, if you don't mind coming back over here.
Yeah. And I say, I look over to you and I say, would you mind watching Cap for a few moments?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
I can watch the little one.
And I say, be good, Cap. And then I turn around on a heel and walk in the direction.
Cap immediately holds your hand, Basar.
I think Basar holds it kind of like hesitatingly.
Yeah.
And just kind of gives that like really awkward smile to the kid, just like,
This is fine. Sure. Yes. Zeke, as you make your way over with Kong and Greg, there is suddenly now a group of your other coworkers whispering, not so much whispering actually at this moment, they are looking to each other with a concerned sort of state, kind of discussing maybe just like, I think from what you hear, little whispers of, should we evacuate? Do we need to, like, just like little sort of things about like leaving for whatever reason.
I walk over and I go, what's going on?
Greg in particular just kind of goes, yeah, so while we haven't felt anything in particular, there's something apparently reporting from kind of the other side of the Fjordlands or other side of the mountains or something. There's like an earth tremor that's beginning to make its way of some kind.
It's like, do you think it's a monster?
Well, that would be okay. I guess some of us are a little on edge about it potentially, like it's totally fine if it's a monster, but you know, lately the stuff with the gold disease.
Oh yeah, that fake Goldie.
The fake Goldie, I think it's what it's called.
Yeah, the fake Goldie.
Yeah.
He looks and says, well, I don't think we could probably work in these conditions. We might have to clean up and I'll round some folks up and I guess we'll go check it out.
Okay. Basar, holding Cap's hand, Cap just kind of like, again, is like filled with the after school energy and like is just swinging your hands like that. This is just fine, no problem. And I think not necessarily another one of those blips, but the temperature definitely changes again in this moment. And there's sort of a lot of overwhelming kind of new senses all around you, different tastes, scents, and feelings. This child, Cap, holding your hand and swinging it, the distant mutter of concerned railway workers, the scent of the ocean, the imagery of this serpentine, your eye, not in a painful way, but in almost an itchy kind of, like almost as if maybe it wasn't settled quite well in its place. You look in front of you and there seems to be like a mom and like her kid, and like the both of them are blonde and have like the classic Fjordlands sort of attire, just walking. And all of a sudden, Zeke and Basar, the both of you, are beginning to feel a very sudden, not just earth tremor, but the feeling of the ground all around you shaking, moving, vibrating violently right here, right now. And before anyone does anything in particular, the mother picks up her kid and is just looking around and in a loud, panicked voice is calling out for another person. Basar, the child in her arms, she's holding it as if it is a child. But with your eye, again, in that like unsettled, not so set in its proper place, the child's hair takes on almost a two-dimensional, paper-like kind of look to it, almost as if not 3D, like not in the sense of like a spear would be, but just a plain circle, almost as if drawn on a piece of paper. Golden. And some of the hair even comes off as little flecks of gold leaf. But before you can think about it, Cap is holding on to you, scared, and the mother has now run away with her child.
I think for a moment there, Basar was going to, or their eyes are trying to like track this child and trying to find where they're going. But then by the force, I assume, of like Cap, like suddenly, I think, like almost tackling into me, it kind of like shakes me away and I can't, in an instant, it's like the kid is gone and I can't seem to focus on them. So I think with that, Basar is just going to kind of like look around, fruitlessly is the word I'm looking for. Look around fruitlessly for this kid, but not finding them. Is just going to focus back on Cap and go, right. Child, are you able to walk?
Like a vigorous nod.
Okay, let's go find your father. And I think Basar is going to try and head towards the way that they saw Zeke go, hoping that Zeke is still around.
And hope, like, easily enough, Zeke probably already,
coming towards,
yeah.
Zeke, that was your name, correct?
Persar?
Yes. Here. I think the little one is afraid.
I pick Cap up and give Cap a hug. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, champ?
The earthquake happening, maybe?
Yeah.
Cap.
Champ.
Champ. Cap just kind of whimpers, like really holding on to you, Zeke, and everyone again is like scattering in the appropriate sort of earthquake procedure or protocol that needs to be happening within the Fjordlands. Something in particular that is happening, and I think the both of you monster care specialists are realizing, is that it doesn't feel like this rumbling is happening maybe even from the ground. It feels like a more distant, almost now the sound of like a stampede, almost the sound of something running, and the force of its running, the force of whatever feet it has, shaking most of the structures that are happening within the Fjordlands. And there is a mighty, violent, almost blood-curdling sound of bleeding, goat bleeding. But the bleeding almost sounds like a roar at the same time, almost like a very unsettlingly human scream. And then let's take a break.
All right, that is the end of part 1 of Monster Care Squad. Whoop. Part 1 of Monster Care Squad. Whoop. Sorry, I could hear myself over the top of myself. It was very disconcerting. That was the end of Monster Care Squad, part 1 of Lost and Found, a 4-part actual play that's going to be happening every Wednesday during the course of this month. Of course, Gorgor Big, of course, we ended on a cliffhanger. If you have not yet, hit follow and hit !squad goals for a chance to get entered into winning a digital copy tonight. I'm going to announce that in just 1 minute. We will be back live next week for part 2. It's going to be Wednesday at 8 p.m. next Wednesday, and then every Wednesday following. We'll have another special guest, at least one, with us to talk a little bit about their experience playing or designing the game, and we'll also give away another digital copy of the game. Don't forget, you can go to ttrpg.link/MCSGame. That's Monster Care Squad game, and use the code +1EXE. That's E, not P, to get $5 off. We'll also drop a link over to the itch page that has a $5 discount for the digital version. Also, too, but if you want a beautiful physical version, go to ttrpg.link/MCSGame to check it out. I got to give people just one more second to type in !squad goals if they want to, and then we are going to pick a winner and say goodbye for the evening. Thanks once again to Sandy Pug Games for helping sponsor this, for the team Adam Bell and Jeremy over at Hyped for collaborating with us on putting together this project. It's been an absolute blast. And of course, to all of our players, thank you so much for being on. And for you, chat, thank you so much for being here with us. We are going to go ahead and pick that winner right now as soon as I click on the button, because I had clicked away from where I needed to for giveaways. All right, giveaway is closed, and we are picking the winner right now. Donnie Dynamo, thanks for subscribing today, Donnie, with that Prime subscription. Also, too, thanks for the follow. We're glad to have you with us, and it's been great to get to know you over the course of the last couple months in chat, both here and on Discord. Shoot me a message, and we will get you set up with that free copy of digital copy of Monster Care Squad. Tune back in next week, folks. Help spread the word about this amazing game. And again, go to ttrpg.link/Monster Care Squad game. If you joined us late and want to catch the full thing, it'll be up on YouTube just a few minutes from now. You can go check it out there. It just needs a couple minutes to finish processing, and you will be able to watch it also. We will see you